So if you don't mind, I would like to start with an anecdote. I recently got my license in the UK, so I had to take a lot of driving lessons. And I'm driving along with my instructor, and we come to a zebra crossing. So I stop, and I say to him, I'm gonna stop and let that consumer go. And he looks at me like, what? And I don't even understand why. And then a minute or two later, I'm like, right, because normal people don't say consumer. They say man, woman, child, father, friend. And then I started to think about what we do. And with these demographic shortcuts that we take, you could argue that we're robbing people of their humanity. And then I started to feel a little bit down on communications and what I do. But then I started to think a little bit more. And sometimes what we do is we land on a truth on the human condition, and we bring it to life through creative, and that starts a dialogue and a discussion and a debate. And in turn, that leads to understanding, and that sometimes even leads to a change in perception and to action. And nobody does that type of creative better than P&G, which is why I'm so excited, Katharine, that you're here with me today. And since the name of our panel is Can Creativity Save Humanity, I want to start with a piece of creative. This came out right before the last Winter Olympics, and it looks at the true stories of some Olympians and some of the very real challenges and biases that they faced in their journeys. So this is Love Over Bias.
Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Someday we'll get it together and we'll get it all done. Someday when your head is much lighter. Someday we'll walk in the rays of our beautiful sun. Someday when the world is much brighter. Oh, child, things are gonna get easier.
So this is the first time I've watched it without crying. Okay. This is a really brave approach for a company to take, and I'd love to understand the process, the internal discussions, and how you can get perhaps a more conservative stakeholder on board to take on an approach like this.
Yes, so I think certainly at P&G, it all starts with a fundamental belief that brands and companies have a responsibility as well as an opportunity to make a difference and drive change and spark a conversation that can drive a change in perception or a change in behavior. And diversity and inclusion in particular is an area we feel very passionate about to make a difference. It's absolutely at the heart of our company purpose, values, principles. Interestingly, it's one of the key reasons I joined P&G back in 2000 and that I've stayed with the company. And because of that belief and that passion to make a difference, actually at P&G we push ourselves as leaders to take brave stances, to push our agencies, challenge our agencies, empower our junior brand teams to become uncomfortable, to really push those boundaries. We believe that to drive any change, any profound change, actually there will be a group of people that will need to feel uncomfortable. And that's okay. In fact, that's a good thing, and that is a needed thing. And it is with that belief and that passion that will sort of drive everything else through no matter what.
Okay. Your CMO, Mark Pritchard, says, brands are a force for good and a force for growth. So I need to ask you, what does that actually mean? And is that too lofty an expectation to put on brands?
So to the last question, I'd say a simple, it's not too lofty. It is a realistic expectation. And what we really see, and if we come to it, P&G, we are the largest advertiser in the world. And we're the largest manufacturer of packaged goods. So it is a responsibility to use our voice in advertising to change perceptions in society. And it is our responsibility to use our scale in manufacturing to improve the footprint on the planet. And consumers today are demanding it. And we are a consumer-first company. We always have been, we always will be. And so if we put our consumers first, we have to adapt, we have to change to their demands. And when we do, not only do we see it is a force for good to drive societal change, to drive environmental change, but it's a source for growth, and by that we mean business growth. So when we make our advertising more diverse, not only does it change perceptions in society, actually our advertising has more impact. When we make our products more sustainable, not only is that good for the environment, but we see that they sell more. And we have to wake up to the fact our consumers are changing, our planet is changing, and we'd better start changing with them, or we will not be existing as a company. And P&G has existed for 176 years, and I fundamentally believe it's because we always adapt with our consumers. So really that's what Mark Pritchard means by we absolutely can marry being a force for good on the planet and with our people and being a force for growth on the business.
Okay. One of my favorite things about your creative is the evolution I've seen over the past few years. So we've moved away from the mum and the pearls and the perfectly clean kitchen to a much more realistic look at parenting today. You've also moved away from a very singular notion of what beauty is, which I think many audiences appreciate. So a wonderful example of a really representative look at beauty today is the Pantene Gold series, which I'd love to take a look at.
We are proudly born with hair that grows strong as a storm and doesn't conform to a beauty norm that isn't our own. Because whether we choose to wear it relaxed or natural, every strand is testimony to our history that makes us stronger. And strong is beautiful. Pantene.
So I understand you worked on that, and that's something close to your heart. So you can talk a little bit about how that came about.
So I have the privilege to be marketing director at Procter & Gamble for Northern Europe, but I have another hat, which is commercial director for our hair care business. So I have a confession to make. Whilst I adore and love equally, like my children, all of our P&G brands, I do have a special place in my heart for our hair care brands. And Pantene is no different. So this story is a really interesting story. We woke up at Pantene one day and we realized we were absolutely failing on our promise to consumers. And our promise, our belief, is that through our products, we can give every woman, every man, every boy, every girl the opportunity for a great hair day. Because we improve the structure of your hair, and that enables you to do the things you want to do with it. But we were completely failing one very important consumer group. We were making conditioners for one hair type that was fairly straight, a little curly, but round. We were absolutely not making products for African hair, which is much, much curlier and flat. It's a completely different hair type. So our products were utterly failing. We put a group of US scientists, Procter & Gamble scientists, who were had black hair, were black women themselves. And we said to them, please go away and make products. You have access to all of our technology and all of the research, and make a range of products that you absolutely love and that really look after your hair. And I'm thrilled that they did, and that's the Pantene Gold Series. It is a range of products, far more than these three. If you have black African hair, you need almost 6 or 7 products. These products are fantastic. We've launched them in the US, we've launched them in the UK, and they are really, really serving those consumers well. And when it came to the creative, that was also no different. There was a brilliant campaign made, a great piece of advertising, and it aired in the US. But then when we brought it over to the UK and we showed it to some key opinion leaders who were black women themselves, the ad just did not resonate with them. They felt it didn't represent them, their journey, where they'd come from, their beliefs. So we did something quite un-P&G. We handed over the creative to them, and we said we would love to do a true collaboration. Why don't you have all the rushes, all the films, and you come up with an edit, a voiceover, music that you feel absolutely embodies what we're trying to do. And this is the result that you just saw, which I personally love. It's really different to our previous standard P&G advertising, and it really, really resonates. But it doesn't just stop there. The other shocking thing which we found was what we're calling black hair bias. So when you type into Google, beautiful hair, you get hundreds and hundreds of pictures of white women with blonde, with brunette, with black Caucasian hair. When you type into Google, unprofessional hair, you get hundreds and hundreds of images of black women with black hair. I don't know about you, but genuinely it makes me emotional. And it's wrong. And that is something that I am passionate to change. And if my legacy on my hair care business is one thing, it will be to fundamentally change the face of beauty as we know it today. We are not there yet. We have a long way to go. I can't claim that I will do it alone, but I would love to collaborate with everyone in this room and beyond to really make a difference in this world.
So that's I think that couldn't have been a better example of using creativity and co-creation ultimately to make a positive impact on humanity. But I'm going to ask you, let's go beyond Pantene. And what else is P&G doing, whether internally or externally, to promote diversity?
Absolutely. Well, we use the voice of other brands to really change perceptions. Always is a wonderful example on Like a Girl. Before that campaign started, only 19% of people would say Like a Girl was a positive expression. Since that campaign's been running, now 76% of people would say it's a positive expression, which is a wonderful example of a campaign that has been running over the years and has really driven a change. And Always will go beyond with its most recent Ending Period Poverty to make sure that we can include all girls in school every day and that there shouldn't be a reason that they don't go to school. But it's not just what we put in our creative, it's actually how we show our creative. So I was shocked when I found out in my previous media role that there are 2 million people in the UK who suffer from sight loss, and they were not seeing our advertising. They were not seeing any advertising. So they could watch Hollywood movies, they could watch big TV programs, but advertising did not, was not audio described, and television stations did not have the technology to show the advertising in an audio described version. It's different tech for the program versus the ad. So at P&G, we decided we needed to drive a change, and we partnered with industry bodies who were outstanding. We partnered with our creative agencies who were outstanding, and we made every single one of our TV ads audio described, and we were thrilled that the TV stations invested a big chunk of capital to put the technology into their stations to be able to air audio described ads. So we were absolutely thrilled, and I was personally thrilled that P&G was the first advertiser to be able to show an audio-described ad on TV. But what genuinely I'm more thrilled about is actually the work of the TV stations who had to invest in the capital, and then all the other advertisers who absolutely want to do the same and are doing the same. So big industry initiatives is something that we want to drive, but it's not just that. It's everyday stances too that really make a difference, and it's something I think whether you are a small business or a large business you can do. So things such as showing men and women doing the washing up, washing the clothes, changing nappies, or our choice of ambassadors, choosing Gus Kentworthy, a US Olympian, to fly the pride flag in our Head & Shoulders ad, which was the first ad on US television to show a pride flag, which I was astonished about.
I'm shocked by that. I'm just finding that at this moment.
Yeah.
I did not know that, and I'm shocked.
And that was just last year. And more recently, us choosing Tom Daly as our ambassador. So he is a new dad with his partner. They're both dads, and he is the face of our Pampers Pure launch, which I'm thrilled about.
I love that too. I think it's fantastic.
But we need to do so much more. So I am championing all our brand teams, all our agencies, all our partners, and any other advertiser or manufacturer that I come across. I really think if we all make those changes, drive the big industry initiatives, make the small everyday stances, we truly can make a big difference.
So in terms of making a difference, I've heard people say acts, not ads. I would argue that you excel at both of them, right? We've seen some beautiful advertising, and I've seen action as well. I've seen some change to your plastic packaging. And something we feel very strongly about at H&K is about making a better impact on the world. And one way to do that is by aligning with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDG. So I wanted to know which goals P&G is aligning with and what actions you're taking.
So we're taking a lot of action. We don't necessarily talk a lot about it, but we do a lot. So we have just launched Ambition 2030, which is our sustainability framework and our sustainability goals. And actually, we fully aligned them with the UN Sustainability Development Goals. So if I take packaging, we have two very important goals. The first being that 100% of our packaging will be fully recyclable, fully reusable, or fully compostable, and that no P&G packaging should ever reach the oceans. Now, they are lofty, long-term goals, and it's all around the central idea of promoting and inspiring responsible consumption. But short-term, we break it down. So if I take hair care as an example, by the end of this calendar year, 25% of all our packaging will be using post-recycled consumer plastic. And very recently, we launched the first ever shampoo bottle fully made with beach recycled plastic. We launched it on Head & Shoulders. We made the bottle grey, which was a big choice to turn away from the iconic white and blue, but to signal that change, we launched it exclusively with Tesco. And we couldn't do it alone. We partnered with TerraCycle. TerraCycle collect plastic from the beach, and then they turn it into plastic you can use. And we realize at P&G, whilst we can do a lot, we absolutely cannot fix this problem alone. So we want to partner with many organizations, industry bodies, other manufacturers. So it's a reason we were one of the founding signatories on the UK Plastics Pact, and we are absolutely actively searching for more partnerships, more collaborations.
Wonderful. So the final piece of creative I'm going to show, this is a Grand Prix winner from Cannes Lions. It's about the conversations that African American parents have had with their children throughout the generations and are still having today. And here is the talk.
Who said that?
The lady at the store.
That is not a compliment.
It's an ugly, nasty word, and you are going to hear it. Nothing I can do about that. But you are not going to let that word hurt you.
You got your ID? Yeah. Okay, so stop it.
Yeah. Now, when you get pulled over...
I'm a good driver.
Baby,
Don't worry.
this is not about you getting a ticket. This is about you not coming home.
I'm gonna be okay. Right? Okay.
You are not pretty for a black girl. You are beautiful, period. Okay? Don't ever forget that.
So powerful. I know it was controversial when it was released. Right now, there's so much conversation about Nike, people literally out there burning their shoes. Can you talk about how you at P&G respond to criticism?
Yes, I will try not to cry. So with something like this, it's really important for us to remember why we're doing it. And for us at P&G, this was about, in this instance, sparking a conversation. And most of the result was positive. Most of the conversation was positive. But yes, there was controversy, and there was some negative reaction. And our simple answer to that was, if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? And then we went on to increase the advertising and to continue the PR and to monitor the conversation. So we didn't feel it was our place to dictate the conversation. That was not our role. We did want to monitor the conversation, and we wanted to facilitate the conversation, but at absolutely no point did we want to steer or direct it. And what we found actually when we stepped back was the community, they stepped in. They guided the conversation back to being on the positive. And that's very much where it is now. So we absolutely stand by this. And that's because we deeply know why we're doing it, and we deeply know our role that we play in it.
Final question. Without giving away all of the secrets to your success, feel free to, by you. What advice do you have for a brand or a business that would like to unlock the power of creativity to make a positive impact on humanity?
Okay, so I definitely don't claim to have the secret to success, but I will share my thoughts. I have a few. So the first, actually the most important, is be authentic. Every brand has a powerful voice. And actually a brand is at its strongest, I think, when it uses that voice against a relevant issue. But there's got to be an intuitive link. The brand has to have a right to talk about that particular subject and play in that space. And it's not always obvious, the link, and you do need to work at it, you need to research it, you need to bounce the idea off consumers. But if I take always, absolutely it has a right to talk about girls' confidence or girls being able to go to school. Pantene absolutely has the right to change the face of beauty. If you don't get that authentic feel, if you step too far, if you're not in the right subject zone, then you can risk to feel like you're jumping on the bandwagon, and I would say using borrowed interest, and that defeats the object. That's not a good place to be. But every brand can find that intuitive link, so I urge everyone to consider what that might be for your brand. The second area, I would say, because it makes it relevant for everyone, actually us at an individual level, and then us when we work on brands, small or large, is you can take everyday stances. It doesn't have to be a lofty big campaign. It can be everyday choices, such as our choice to show men and women doing the washing, or to show men and women changing their nappies. And the final thought would be, it can take time. It could take months. It could take years. It could take decades. So when you find that space and it's working, keep going. Actually, always, which the Like a Girl campaign is celebrated from the rooftops, it started as a tiny idea, a very small digital campaign that reached 1% of the population. The next year, it made it onto national television. In the US, it made it onto the Super Bowl. Then we started partnering with Google to change all emojis available to be more gender neutral. And now we have nationwide partnerships around the world to get girls back into sport, and we won't stop there. So it has very much grown over time, and that's okay. So don't feel you have to change the world in a day. We can change the world over the coming decades. And on an individual level, to trigger some action, I just urge everyone, each of us actually, to consider the possibilities. If we all step up in every manner, in every form, biases will shift, attitudes will change, and action will be taken. And collectively, and that power of unity and crossing boundaries, no matter who we work for, where we work, actually that collective power can definitely be a force for good for our people and our planet.
That is a possibility I would love to consider, and I think we all would, so thank you so much.